Teams call today.
All right, welcome to Township of Sparta Environmental Commission meeting for Thursday, July 25th, 2024. Meeting is called to order at 7:01. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the public and the press on January 5th, 2024 by delivering to the press and posting to the township website a copy of the notice. We are live in the council chambers at the municipal building and also at www.youtube.com/@SpartaTWP/streams. Christine, will you please do the roll call?
Councilman Daniel Chiarello,
I'm here.
Chairwoman Kimberly Noel,
Here.
Vice Chair Neil Sarwine,
Here.
Christine Dunbar,
I'm here.
Ted Gall,
Here.
Christine Rogers,
Here.
Linda Tower,
Here.
Barbara Kazalka, Landon Teneri,
Here.
Robert Otto,
Here.
Marilyn Solis.
Please join me in saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we do have minutes of June 13th, 2024 for approval. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of June 13th, 2024.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Neil, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, no discussion. All right, we have no correspondence. Next up is application. We have one application for Willow Tree Therapy Services, LLC. It's a change of lease, so it's just a new renter of that space. Did anybody have any comments on that or questions or concerns? The only thing I noticed was the lighting running all night long, so I thought we might want to suggest a period of time that it goes off or be dimmed.
Is the lighting downward facing?
It is downward facing, but still,
Of course, yes. no.
yeah. All right. Okay. Public comment. No one is here from the public. Reports. Who would like to go first?
I will go.
Okay. Thank you,
I
Christine.
did forget my notes, but I can add some things. What I shared with the planning board that evening was were the 5 goals of the open space. That was shared, and there was no comment on that. And the other thing I advocated for was your assessment, the inventory for Behringer, because that was exactly at opposition of what the Behringer attorney, I believe, sent back to us.
Right.
And so I commented on how, both of us can be looking at the same property and see things so differently. And that I saw this as being a treasured area because it's sitting right on top, at least underneath is the aquifer of the Wallkill and the Pollenskill. So this would be the most unlikely place to be having a development and asking for a variance. And also that it is so close to a wellhead also. And so he said in his report, which I left at home, that he believed that there was certain 2 zones, that this was a part of 2 zoning areas, and they weren't the same ones as we had indicated it was part of. So he believed these were the correct zoning areas. And I said, we should go on more than belief when we're talking about these things in this critical area, because it is a critical area. So I tried to advocate, for us. And it seems like every place along that Aaron Way, they're asking for a variance, a variance, a variance. And it's just got to stop, but we don't support it.
Where is the application now in that process? Was that the first
I
hearing?
think we heard all of the application.
Okay,
Yeah, no.
okay. Anything else?
Oh, no, I don't think so. That was kind of the main thing. Yep.
Thank you. Neil or Dan, who wants to go next?
Pick me.
Dan next.
Okay, I've got a couple things. I actually took a pen and it had a couple things I wrote down. I wrote down 4 things we could talk about. First, I think most impactful from the meeting from Tuesday was the master plan funding was rejected by the council. It required a majority, a supermajority, which is 2/3, which for our council is 4 yes votes, and it only received 3. So the master plan funding was rejected. The primary objection to the no votes was that one of the council members put a series of restrictions on how the professionals could access the funds that we're trying to perform or try to put into place. We kind of met that person 90% of the way there, but there were still reservations and led to a no vote. So for right now, I think the project is, I don't want to say dead, but it's been voted. There's no funding for the project, so I don't think it proceeds from this point forward. It's possible it could be reintroduced later this year or even next year, but for right now, the master plan is on the shelf. The council also created a trails committee, and we had 3 applicants, which we named to the trails committee. One of them is with us tonight. Thank you. I don't believe we will also name at the next meeting, which the council will next meet August 27th. We're going to skip the second Tuesday meeting of the month of August and go to the 4th one. At that point, we'll name one or more council liaisons to the committee, and then we can get the committee started. The other thing that we received a lot of discussion to the last meeting was PFAS regulations. So these, I don't remember what PFAS stands for, if anybody knows.
Perfluor. Forever chemicals.
Well,
Forever chemicals.
well, that's not what it, does the F stand for forever? And I don't see it coming. Yeah, whatever. So polyfluoral, ethyl, whatever. So these are, as Mr. Otto notes, these are forever chemicals. The federal government recently lowered the allowable limit, and it's like per trillion, right? They're measured in. It was a pretty big number,
That's what he said.
and I think the limit went from 11 per trillion to 4 or to 6, something like that.
That might be the testing level. I think it's.
Perhaps. So I'm not up on that, so I don't want to provide too many numbers because I might be wrong. But in any case, we were in compliance before the levels were lowered, and now Sparta is not, and so we need to do something about it. And this is not a simple process, and it's a very expensive process. And so the town right now is embarking on a plan for how to approach this. And the plan is simply just put new filters on and filter out all that PFAS stuff, and you're good. These filters are expensive. We do have close to 24 wells in town. I don't know exactly how many, but it's almost 20, I believe, or maybe just a little bit more than 20. And some of them have higher level testing than others, and so maybe some of the wells that test high, maybe we take those offline, and some of the ones that test low, we accentuate those or put filters on those. And so there's a plan that we're working on to try to figure what's the best way to approach this thing, and with the least cost. One of the things we also did is, as a township, as a municipality, we joined a class action suit, and we did this months earlier this year, and with a number of municipalities seeking remedy for the expenses that we're going to incur, primarily from the chemical polluters or the chemical companies that are responsible for putting the PFAS chemicals into our system. Polyfluoroalkyl alkyl substances. Thank you, sir. We're hoping that class action lawsuit will help us recoup some of the costs that we anticipate having to bear for the remedy of the new legislation.
Dan, before you move on, the wells are township wells.
Municipal wells, correct?
Okay. So anybody with a private well, they have to do their own testing.
Correct.
and their
Yeah,
own
private wells are
remediation.
not covered by these. These are people on the township municipal water system.
Okay.
That's a good point, though. So if you might have to have your own well tested, and you might need to put your own remedies in place if you have your own well water.
Yeah.
Now, our water system has 19 different water tanks, something in that area, give or take a couple. Almost the same number of wells, I think, just by happenstance. But the system is interconnected, so it's not 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 or 1-to-3. We can pretty much draw water from any well and put into wherever the tank in town is low. I mean, it might not be 100% connected, but there is a lot of interconnectivity that has to be factored into place too when we figure out our plan. Anyway, it's a difficult plan, a difficult process, a problem to solve, and it's going to take a while to solve, and we're working on it.
Another question about that was, do we know where the source of the PFAS are?
Well, every well will have some level of contamination that they'll test for.
Right.
um,
Meaning
Some will be higher than others.
they didn't go to the tanks and the water in the tank is bad, but the water coming out of the well is good.
I
type of
think these are
situation?
all from the source, from the well.
They went
yeah.
to the wells. Okay.
I can't be 100% certain, but that's my understanding.
Okay.
I can't tell you if every single one of our wells had some trace amount.
Right.
Maybe some might be zero. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I do know that some wells tested higher than others for this. And that's factors into how we address it. So like I said, if there's a well that's a real problem that would cost a lot of money to resolve, maybe we take that well offline.
Yeah.
And again, we don't know.
Who in the township leads this effort?
Well, ultimately, it's the manager, the township manager, but the water department is primarily taking the lead because they're closest to it for this plan, and our engineer is also involved.
The thought that all these PFAS is just coming from the environment,
Yes.
They're-
I mean,
not
again,
the
I don't
natural
know.
environment.
but I mean, like, how are they getting?
Well, these are not natural chemicals, so they
Right.
don't.
Non-stick,
Yep.
stain resistant, and basically anything that's,
So like when people are just doing their regular old washing their clothes, getting dry
In the class
clean.
action lawsuit.
That I don't know, but it's a large group of municipalities.
But who are you suing in the class action lawsuit?
I think one of the primary defendants is Dow, but I'm not sure. I'm in the deep end of the pool, DuPont. Again, I don't want to name names because I might be wrong and I might be naming company names that's erroneously, and I apologize if I did misstate if these were not part of the suit. But the answer is I don't know.
so is the suit to recoup costs from the filtration of the municipal
Or
water
for the
sources?
filtration, right?
So is there an opportunity to consider, like, for instance, we just heard how there's development over recharge area or near aquifer areas. So those would be areas that would be likely the shortest distance to the aquifer and to the recharge area would accept contamination the most readily. So it's maybe something that we should consider while you guys are undergoing kind of getting it out of the drinking water, is to look at how we can consider keeping it from entering,
That's
in the
probably part of the
future.
plan. It's not part of the class action lawsuit. Again, the lawyers for the plaintiff are big boy lawyers that are, I don't know what their office is, but it's a national lawsuit.
So speaking of big boy lawyers, I guess just would not suing the producers of it, but maybe we have to consider our development guidelines and distances from aquifers and recharge areas just in
So-
the future.
So I think I see two things in that. One is, do we seek remedy from local sources of contamination? And I think the answer is no. like I said, these are national lawsuits, and I think they're going after the actual manufacturers of those chemicals, the chemical companies themselves. But secondly, but maybe more to your point, if we do see that there is some local contamination source that we may be able to ameliorate, if there is a source that happens to be close to a runoff that could lead into our recharge area, the answer is I don't know, but that's a good idea. If that would factor into our plan to say if there are local sources of contamination, maybe we put some restrictions there.
Yeah,
And
I'm
I don't know
not
if that's even the case.
I'm not saying they're local sources, but with what they're in, firefighting chemicals and turnout gear,
Sure.
there's a
Break-
couple what ifs we could follow through. So just
Yep.
something to
Could be
consider.
brake pads, from breaking a car and
So proximity to paved areas, and again, distance to. So I guess when we're talking about stormwater management, I guess that's the thing. Right now, we have guidelines and, things that are promulgated from the state and the Fed about green infrastructure and stormwater guidelines. So we might maybe just put a pin in that, like we want to look at PFAS and just add that to our list of things to be considering, because it's not just sediments, it's not just road salts, it's forever chemicals that are they're ubiquitous in man-made products.
that is an interesting point.
2 comments on this.
Sure.
One, especially considering the master plan is, the funding has been turned down. Could there be a larger effort to look at Anjec? Because I think I remember them having a water, a runoff assessment, that like a town-wide study of, runoff and funding for, to look at those pieces, especially when we're talking about Sparta being affected and our wells being affected.
That's an interesting thought.
And 2, will the water department and town manager and engineer be reaching out to everybody with private wells to have this discussion?
The answer is I don't know, but I will raise that with the manager. And again, I'm not a hydrologist. I can't tell you what the impact of stormwater would be on PFAS. Maybe that's not a thing, but I don't want to pretend that I know. But I will. That's a good point. I will raise both of those things with the township manager, along with stormwater as to stormwater assessment. This is going back 4 or 5 years. At the state level, the state passed a laws or regulations that allowed municipalities to set up stormwater utilities. So right now, municipalities provide services, and one of the services we provide is water for people. But since people use water at different rates, we don't. We pay for water as you consume it. It's in your water bill. We also provide garbage pickup, and that's also on a consumption basis. And so that's done through a utility. Not everybody uses the sewer, so that anybody uses the sewer. And again, people use the sewers at different rates. So the sewers have a rate that we charge per gallon, and that's done with through utility. Things that are, if you were to charge for sewers across in your taxes, like anything else, that means everybody would pay the same amount, per unit of taxation, regardless of how much you consume. So if my house is assessed as the same as my neighbor's house, with roughly the same size, but I'm really good about using water and I try to use as little as possible, my neighbor lets the toilets run all day long. If it were done through property taxes, we would all pay the same rate if our house was assessed the same. But since it's a consumption-based utility, we pay as we consume it. The reason I bring that up is the stormwater utility would allow people that would use the stormwater service more, utility more, to pay more. So someone who owns a relatively smaller property that's discharging less would instead would pay less than a large parking lot that puts a lot of stress on the stormwater system. In any case, the township council at that time, a number of years ago, voted to never, ever, ever consider this. And I was the lone no vote on that. That might be, and I bring this up, not to pat myself in the back, but I still think it was the way to vote on that. But it's possible that a stormwater utility and some stormwater assessment and some stormwater way of looking at this problem could play a role. So I'll bring that up again. And then I'm not suggesting that we implement a stormwater utility, but I think that should be a card on the table.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's a way to reward businesses for not creating more impermeability.
Yep, and it's actually a way to. There are ways that you can, as individually in your property, can buy down your stormwater assessment. Like if you implemented stormwater capture systems, your rate, your assessment, and your utility would go down, and so you can have some control over how much you'll pay for stormwater. And somebody who doesn't want to put those capture systems in would pay more. I don't know if you remember, it was somebody that created a snide remark and called it the rain tax, and that became the thing.
Right.
That's what defeated this. Would you believe they're taxing rain? But in any case, so I will bring those are two good suggestions, and I'll bring those to the attention of the township manager. I don't want to use up the entire meeting, but the last thing I'll mention real quick is that, and we talked about this a little bit last meeting, we do have a student liaison position that is up for renewal, and the township manager, assistant manager was asking about how we post this thing, if we have an example or a press release or something that we could send out to the media to advertise or socialize that this position is open. And I thought that would fall upon this group to come up with something. And we're not talking about, a big work of Nobel literature. We're just talking about a paragraph or two to introduce what this would be. So if somebody wants to take this on for the commission to put something together that we can socialize on our website, press release, whatever, to say that this position's open. If you want, please apply. I think that would be helpful. And that's all my update.
How did we get our current student liaison? Was there something written for that, or how did that come
We're
about?
looking to see when that I haven't looked very hard, but that was the first question: is what did we do last time? I'm like, I don't remember, but so we're looking around.
I thought I wrote something last time, but I just briefly spent 5 minutes looking for it. I couldn't find it. So
Okay.
I'll look also.
Okay, thank you.
If not, I'm sure I could write something in very quickly. Neil?
Well, the master plan subcommittee met last week on the 18th, and it's pretty much moot right now. As Dan explained, the funding was voted down. We do remain optimistic that an agreement can be reached maybe within the next couple of meetings. I don't know how likely that is, but that's, can only be optimistic. Otherwise, there was a website that was ready to go with a survey, and it's already been designed. It's a hub that'll include the previous master plans and surveys and how we get to things. So hopefully that'll come about.
It just occurred to me, the Highlands Council was scheduled to review this thing at their next meeting to approve a grant that we requested to cover the cost of the master plan.
Right.
Which I guess becomes moot now.
Well, I don't know if it does, because it would be,
Would proactively approve it, maybe?
well, I mean, it would give us some funding to continue, wouldn't it? Because
That's actually a good point. If the council the council voted to not secure the funds, but somebody put the funds in our lap,
right.
I don't know, that's a good question. I'll ask
Yeah,
that as
because
well.
they only voted down the funds.
They only
didn't
voted down the
vote
funds.
down
Yep.
Doing
Right.
it.
Right. And that was a $300,000 amount that the township was going to provide, but we had our grant application was for something like
60,
60.
70, 170, something like that, yeah.
And that would, that would be adequate to keep us.
Yes, in
going.
fact, out of the 300,000, 160 of it, or maybe it was 170, I'm not sure, was for the actual plan itself. The remaining amount of 130, 140 was to be used for reviewing all of the ordinances to make sure they comport with the master plan, because all of our ordinances have to comport with the master plan. And so if the master plan changes, you have to make sure your ordinances are still good. And so that is going to take some time and some effort with some professionals. And so that's, that second part was for, but the first part, that first tranche was for the grant, for the plan itself. And it's a good point. If we get the grant, maybe it's back on.
I would hope so.
Je ne sais pas. But I'll bring that up as well.
And would that be worth a discussion with the Highlands Commission so they know exactly where we stand before they decide whether or not to approve grant money? I would imagine it would make them want to approve the application that much more.
Interesting thought.
Yeah. Don't know.
This is the Highlands Council, right? Not the
Yes.
coalition.
Yeah,
Yes.
council, yeah.
Good points. I will get my best man on it.
Is that you?
That's the joke.
All right, I
Very
think
quick.
next, Landon, once the Trails Commission gets off, we'll be asking for your reports too.
Cool.
All right? Cool, thank you. All right, I didn't miss anything else. Okay. Unfinished business, so the open space subcommittee has been, we've had a quiet period because basically the Land Conservancy of New Jersey has gotten most of the materials that they needed and has been diligently working to put everything together into the inventory as well as prioritizing the sites, et cetera. So hopefully by the end of August, we should have our draft document. The only thing I think they were still waiting on was a group of properties that had been identified in our 2003 open space plan as having cluster ordinances. Do you know if they got that information?
They
Or we're
are
still
working
working?
on it. I
They're
know
still working on
Amanda from the tax assessor's office has been
Working on it.
working on it, looking to get the block and lot numbers.
Okay, great.
Talked about it today with Dory and Michelle, and once we get those block and lots, we can
Okay.
go forward and may need to
Awesome.
dig into some resolutions on apartment.
Okay, sounds good.
When does the
sorry.
survey shut down, or has it already been?
No, it has not shut down yet.
Know what date? What day?
She was going to leave it open till the end of this month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was what I was going to. Perfect segue. The survey was posted online in several different forums through Facebook. It was posted by the township. Thank you very much, Jim, on our website, as well as it was sent out by some other organizations in town to try to get as much input from the community as possible. Last heard, we had over 150. There's probably, and that was like 2 weeks ago. So there's probably way more at this point. So that's good. It's great to have some more input from as much as the community as possible. Still very disappointed that the master plan funding did not go through, of course, but that does not negate the work that we're doing on the open space plan. It's still going to help in a number of ways. So plugging away. Any comments or questions or anything you'd add, Christine?
Not really. It is very disappointing not to have the support of our own town council in almost full. But, I'm grateful for those who did, vote for the funding. And I'm just unclear why there's a concern about the management. I know that that is often a concern about funding and the management of funds, but there still is the fact remains that probably to have, I've looked at many master plans throughout the Paulsville watershed, and none of them are as old as ours. And our community has evolved now, and we have more science-based evidence now, you know, and so, I mean, our master plan is good. I have read it. It's like 88 pages or so, and it's a good master plan, but it's not a master plan for the times or the future. And so, that's disappointing. And I listened to what you said, Dan, but I still don't understand why this should be a thorn in our side and going forward. It's very timely now because, you know, we're doing the open space and recreation review, which can be incorporated into our new master plan. So that's another, you know, disappointment. But I am confident that we will get funded for that master plan. We will. Yeah.
Any other comments, questions on the open space planning? All right, municipal tree replacement ordinance. Barbara had an emergency and so couldn't be here tonight. She's fine, just couldn't come tonight, so don't want to scare anybody. But if anybody has comments, I'm happy to take them, then we can put together another version. The new commented version will then go to Jim and our attorney for review, and then it goes back to us, and then through the process here for review, if the rest of the town council wants to take it up. So did anybody have a chance to review it and want to talk to any comments or questions on it now?
I just was wondering if this was a model ordinance from another town perhaps that we've adopted for our town, or how did the basic structure, you know, come about with?
I thought it came from NJAC.
That's a
Yeah.
good source.
Yep,
That's where the dirty dirt ordinance.
yep.
I know that you were looking for lists, like concrete lists of native trees that could be used for like different sizes and different conditions, and I sent you some good PDFs
Okay,
that
great.
can be used.
Thank you, Linda. All right, if you have any comments that you do want to send my way, feel free to do so after tonight, and we'll hopefully by mid next week have a revised version. Okay, other unfinished business. So green team, we talked about last time, creating or utilizing the green team a bit more and maybe having activities or somebody who would kind of take on the role of like a captain or whatever you want to call yourself, right? Maybe helping the green team maybe do a bit more things. And then I think there was some ideas about what the green team could potentially be doing. So an invasive strike team, invasive plant should be, plant strike team. Adopt a site, potentially the green team could adopt a site or sites. Trail maintenance, if there was somebody interested in doing guided hikes of some kind or group kayaking, those are just some ideas I think I heard from various folks.
What about salt testing we did?
Oh yeah, more salt testing. We did send that out this past year to the green team, and I think we got at least one participant from the green team that did the salt testing with us.
This guy on top.
They did.
Is there a green team captain?
No, we talked about creating that role. Is that something you want to do, Neil?
I wasn't volunteering.
You weren't volunteering? Okay.
But
No, I mean, that was kind of the thought is send out an email to the entire green team and maybe post on the website, right? Hey, we're thinking about if anybody's interested in taking a leadership role here, here's some ideas, or, what are people interested in? Kind of like getting some feedback.
flip the switch rather than have someone here be the captain. Maybe the green team has a captain, and that green team member would be a liaison.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking when I asked the question. I thought maybe
That would
we
work
had
too.
somebody already, but,
And then we need another chair.
Yeah.
The one back here.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good idea too, because it almost puts an obligation on the green team as well, and allows them to be a little bit self-sufficient, so we're not necessarily so hands-on and almost guiding them as well. It allows them to kind of independently create maybe some of their own ideas that we haven't listed down here. But I think we should really push for that.
I mean, I think this committee should still guide them.
Oh, I agree for sure. But it
I
also
want them
allows
going
to
off
be-
on
Yeah.
doing their own stuff. I mean, you don't know what that might be, but, oh, yeah.
Right, like we can come up with projects and that type of thing and talk to the leaders, but then it would be their responsibility to meet the volunteers on a weekend morning and, call the Parks Department to let them know where the garbage bags are so they could be picked up, in a timely manner and that type of thing. Which I would be happy to work with a volunteer, but I can't volunteer to organize all the volunteer events, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like I'm happy to show up, but I don't know that I could organize a bunch of things, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could help them organize with the town and find spots and develop projects and make sure that they know what they're doing. But I don't want to be emailing and recruiting volunteers and showing up on a Saturday. That's the captain. Yeah, yeah. I could help the captain
Yeah,
set up the projects. But.
gotcha.
Like the deputy.
But I think another way we can think of the captain is maybe we organize the first couple events and we see who attends, who's on time, who's responsive, and maybe that captain bubbles up and we see who's good in the group and we can kind of, hey, would you want to be a captain? Rather than some people volunteer for stuff and they don't follow through. So because I do a lot of planning events, even in my job, the captain role that we're talking about is a heck of a lot of work. So we just want to make sure that we have someone good and can communicate and will go back to the group and actually do the follow through. Because if it doesn't happen, the Parks Department will be annoyed that, garbage is being collected and they weren't told, or if people are in the park and, not doing something they're not supposed to be doing. I mean, that could just cause trouble for the town. So I think we just want to make sure that we have a good captain of the green team.
There's also like the stepping away from this volunteer, like physical in the park, unless we're talking about like just like an environmental group or something like that that has the built-in captain, but just the idea of like developing the programming, whether it's like speakers at these meetings that the public might be interested in on native plants, or like walks in the open space we do have, just to develop more of an environmental community around what we're doing and the assets that we really have already. And I think that might be another way to look at the green team and might also be very important.
Well, the green team is a workforce. That's what they're for. They're a labor force. So I think we just say, point them in direction, go. And that's clean up this
The
mesh
park-
of this, whatever.
The Parks Department does not want them to clean up. They said the
okay, but
parks
not
are very
clean
clean, but there are a lot of
Water
invasive,
testing,
100%. There's a lot of invasive
matter.
removals to do and adopt a site to do, but it's not going to be as simple as, point them to garbage, because the
Right,
parks are very
They're
clean.
not a cleanup team,
Yeah.
right? But they're a labor force of other things. And that captain will have a seat here, so we'll be able to keep an eye on that captain, right? And make sure that they're doing what they're doing.
Get a report.
But I see the green team also in another light. I see it as a group of individuals that want to do community science, such as the road salt, or doing some sort of water testing in
citizen
areas they're
science.
concerned with. Yeah, community science. Yeah, so that may be a draw also. It's just not a labor force. You know, it also can be a creative force. Also, you know, you can have them design something also that promotes best management practices for distribution, or wouldn't it be great if we had one of the silos, like the one that's on 181? You know, somebody designed that like they have in Lafayette. That's just, you know, with a message, a very powerful green team message, you know, on that. Lafayette has as the theme farms, but, you know, we could come up with a green team.
So are we saying that they would actually be expected to attend all of our meetings? Because how,
captain, I think, would be here.
but then how, like, how is that, how are they distinguished from a member of the environmental commission?
Well, I said they're a labor force. I'm looking it up now. A green team has a defined purpose, and according to the Sustainable Jersey. Green teams provide the leadership to develop plans, implement programs, and assist with educational opportunities that support the creation of a sustainable community.
The student liaison / team, so maybe they don't come as often.
Volunteer
And I have
members.
one process question. I think we just also need to make sure whatever kind of waiver would need to be signed, maybe like green team members can sign an overall waiver that if they're participating in multiple events at multiple town sites, they could do that one time, rather than, I don't know what would be required waiver wise, but it would be good if they just sign and it's an all encompassing waiver potentially for any event that they would be involved in throughout the year.
Green teams differ from conservancy boards and environmental committees and commissions and planning commissions because the focus is on completing actions required for Sustainable Jersey certification. It also says here they're appointed by the mayor and city council. I don't know if we did that.
No, we didn't.
Do we have a list of green team members?
Yes. An email list.
Might be nice to just email them and say, these are the 3 volunteer positions we're looking for, like, and then start the conversations, whatever those 3 volunteer positions are. Like, someone who's gonna organize, walks, someone's that's gonna organize volunteer events, and someone that's going to help with the education piece or citizen science piece.
Well,
Well, it says here the focus is on completing actions required for Sustainable Jersey certification. So that's our like constitution, that's our North Star, right? Sustainable Jersey. So,
I think all those 3 things are in this.
okay, perfect.
I think that.
So I'll take the lead on seeing how our green team is established according to our ordinances, and making sure that if we have we have to have a city council appointment, then we'll make sure the council does that. I'll take the next steps on this, and
Okay.
I'll get back to you.
all right, thank you. And Linda, I was going to say, if somebody's interested in doing it, I think we should we could come out with ideas, but I would like them to say like, oh, I'm really interested in butterflies. Okay. Well, what are your thoughts on,
As long as the butterflies checks one of the Sustainable Jersey boxes.
right?
that
And
are-
it's not
that
an
your North
invasive
Star.
species of butterfly
Exactly.
from Africa or
They're
something.
the spotted lantern butterflies.
No. All right, great. I think we have some.
And can somebody get me a list of those green team members?
Christine, you have that.
Yes, I do believe I do.
Is it like 10 or 100 or 50 or?
Between 10 and
think, like,
100.
Like, wait, how many?
I mean, I'm just ballpark. Is it like
What-
4?
I want to say like 8 or 10?
Okay.
Is that all? Okay, I thought it was more like
Curious.
50.
50?
Because didn't you get some from this year's Sparta Day? Oh, no, you weren't doing green team sign up?
No, I
Okay.
mean, we took like some names and stuff like that. But
Okay.
we were really promoting the open space meeting and having those.
Yeah. I'm sure you had plenty to talk about it. That wasn't a dig in any way.
I'll find the list and send it to you.
Thank you.
All right, great ideas. EV research and,
I haven't had time to do much more with that, but that brings up something that
Let's all shame Neil now. I'm kidding.
We were driving around on the Cybertruck.
yeah. That brings up something that was mentioned that the township manager mentioned at the council meeting on Tuesday, that the state mandates for EV vehicles and trucks.
He did say that, didn't he?
And I was wondering, that's what I'd like to know, like what specifically are the mandates? Because I'm not aware of any, I'm aware of the push for it, but not anything in particular. So I was wondering how to find, you know, what the specifics of those are and how we might be able to help with that
well,
as far as grants.
let's just ask Jim.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay. Yeah. I recently got an electronic mower and I love it. I actually like mowing now.
We've been using one too for a while.
Yeah,
What, you mean a cordless electric?
The battery powered, yeah.
yeah, battery powered.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
I have a corded one.
They're a lot quieter.
A lot
Oh,
quieter.
yeah. Is it mulching too? Does it mulch?
Yes,
Yeah, that's the best part about
yes.
it. I'd never rake any leaves. I just mulch
Nope.
them.
Yep. Well, don't mulch your leaves because that's where the lightning bugs are.
Well, I leave I leave a layer on
Oh,
it
okay.
at the end of the year. So
All
I
right.
know that.
All right. Somebody had new business and I don't remember, I didn't write it down. So somebody had a new business item they wanted to talk about?
Oh, I was in the State Agriculture Development Committee virtual meeting and just, I think Awesome Acres, the Wilson property, got preliminary approval to look into state acquisition of that property. So I think they're moving on to next steps.
That's great news. So the next steps are, do we know what they are?
I think they have to figure out a value, right?
Appraisal was
The-
the next step,
And
I think.
Appraisal.
I forget what the appraisal, like, didn't Jack DeGroot was saying that they redid the appraisal guidelines for the funding, but there's significant funding available. So obviously, so we just want to hope that the appraisal comes in with a number that the owner is happy with, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know what
Great.
the number is.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to keep following that. That's good news.
Now, if the appraisal isn't enough, would the township be able to
That was my question.
use open space funds?
to bridge.
When you say not enough, you mean the owner says, I want more money?
Yeah. Yes,
Towns do it.
I know they do, yeah.
Because that's my concern. Well, I don't know how the appraisal will go. So I believe it was pointed out that, you know, if any person, any reasonable person looks across the street and is aware of the upcoming development pressures, that while it might be underutilized now and farmlands, it might, you know, qualify for a higher value just based on where it is and what's been approved or being developed. So, I mean,
Requires 2 appraisals, and if there's a huge discrepancy, they'll get others.
okay.
Thorough, fair process.
All right, everybody just make sure you talk in the microphones because otherwise they won't be able to hear us in the recording.
I didn't know if I wanted to be heard in that speculating.
All right. Any other new business?
I think the county fair starts this week, next
August
weekend.
2nd.
And I think Monday is Green Day?
I was going to announce that. It's Green Day at the fair.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Nice.
saw that. I thought it was the band.
Convention groups will be there.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah, we could be there also. It's
You
free.
could?
Yeah, 10 to 4. Maybe sometime in the future we can
Think
table
about doing
there and
that.
think about doing it. Yeah.
I'll make a promotion for the Rutgers Cooperative Extension, has a booth there.
Oh, nice.
I know a lovely person who's managing that work, so.
We'll have to stop by.
And I guess also another thing that I left at home was a flyer for a bike ride that starts at Warbath. That's on August 10th. And it might be something that we could publicize, as it's not in Sparta, it starts in Lafayette. I don't know what our boundaries are on that, but it's a family-friendly bike ride,
Oh,
you know,
nice.
that day to explore the watershed.
Is it in support of anything? Or it's exploring the watershed?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's naturalist guided, and one group will go towards Big Spring in Newton. That's a short ride, about 5 or 6 miles from Warbass, and the other will go all the way down to the Pollenskill Lake and have a picnic, and then come back.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anything else for the good of Sparta's residents and the environment? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
Linda, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
When's our next meeting? Is it